Hopefully a relatively quick look at this poem. I'll try and do it in 15 minutes. We're going to do Follower today, also by Seamus Heaney. I think this is a lovely poem. It's from the first collection. This one's also from Death of a Naturalist. It deals a lot with family, the concept of childhood, the notion of growing up. It works really nicely with poems like Digging, Personal Helicon, and this one focuses very specifically on his father. And the way that he viewed his father as a child versus the way that he views him now. So let's get cracking. We'll have a little read through and then we'll start doing some annotations. So, Follower. My father worked with a horse plough. His shoulders globed like a full sail strung between the shafts and the furrow. The horses strained at his clicking tongue. An expert. He would set the wing and fit the bright steel-pointed sock. The sod rolled over without breaking. At the headrig, with a single pluck of reins, the sweating team turned round and back into the land. His eye narrowed and angled at the ground, mapping the furrow exactly. I stumbled in his hobnailed wake, fell sometimes on the polished sod. Sometimes he rode me on his back, dipping and rising to his plod. I wanted to grow up and plough, to close one eye. Was follow in his broad shadow round the farm. I was a nuisance, tripping, bawling, yapping always. But today it is my father who keeps stumbling behind me and will not go away. Oh, it's a good poem. It's a good poem. It's a very honest poem. A very honest poem. Let's start by having a little look at this title. So again, we have a noun. He does love a one-word noun title, doesn't he? So we've got follower. Now, if we think a little bit about the connotations of this word, you've got all sorts going here. You've got like worship. You know, if you follow someone, you worship or idolize them. You've got the idea of like seeking guidance. You know, nowadays we have social media followers. Obviously, Seamus Heaney wasn't thinking of that, but that's one of the reasons that we use that term in relation to social media, the idea that you're looking to someone. You also have some interesting ideas about status and power. You know, is a follower someone with lower status, positioning the person being followed as the one in charge, as the one in power. So I want you to have all of those sort of things in your mind as we read through the poem. Okay. Excuse me. My father worked with a horse plough. So it's another typically Heaney, sort of abrupt and to the point opening. My father. Okay, so we've got that possessive pronoun. My father. So there's a sort of sense of pride. He's mine. My father worked with a horse plough. So immediately we've got that kind of rural setting. We know that Heaney grew up on a farm. His father was obviously a farmer. Note though that it's a horse plough. So no mechanical machinery. Everything is done with the animals and by hand. So immediately, sorry, excuse me, immediately he's telling us something about his strength. And that strength is continued here. His shoulders globed. Okay, so we've got this beautiful metaphor here. Okay, suggesting his size and strength. He is literally like the earth himself, like this rounded with muscle. And now we've got a simile. Like a full sail strung between the shafts and the furrow. So here we've got this idea of the boat image, but again, it's the full sail. So it's that kind of like billowing image that suggests his size and strength. So he is like a full sail strung between the shafts and the furrow. So this is the kind of like, if you imagine ploughed land looks like that. These bits of the furrow, but notice how that in itself is kind of like the waves. So he is like the boat. He is like not just a boat, He is the sail. He is the reason that they're moving through. So he's completely and utterly powerful and in control. It's a lovely, lovely kind of extended image. And now we go back to the kind of more like reality blunt tone. The horse is strained at his clicking tongue. Note the onomatopoeia here, but also it's such a small gesture, isn't it? It's just, or sound, it's just a clicking tongue, yet the horse is strained. Okay, so they work for him, and there is a sort of sense of them being receptive to his slightest command. So you've really got this sort of sense of like his skill and I don't know, maybe like the kind of like unity with the animals, like they're working together, they're collaborative. An expert. Love this. Minor sentence. Yeah. Got that little caesura here as well. It is fact. In his mind, he doesn't even need to put it in a proper sentence. Nice bit of drama. An expert. And then we have our examples. He would set the wing and fit the bright steel pointed sock. Note that we have subject-specific lexis here. Yeah, subject-specific lexis, because these are all parts of the plough. Yeah, parts of plough. The sod, that is the earth. He's not using an insult. The sod rolled over without breaking. Okay, that little adverbial phrase there. This is a reminder again of his skill. At the head rig, at the head rig with a single pluck. Okay, so this adjective again suggests so small movements. Now, this is a lovely bit of Heaney poetry beauty because the single pluck, that's like the jerk. But look, whoop, on jambement. Just writing EMJ, just for the sake of room. You see that? Let's just move that up now. Yeah, at the head rig with a single pluck of reins. The sweating team. Oh, lovely metaphor for the horses. But again, the adjective suggests how hard they're working, and him by extension. The sweating team turned round and back into the land. So there's this kind of repetitive nature of the work there too. His eye narrowed and angled at the ground, mapping the furrow exactly. Okay, so let's look. Narrowed, angled, mapping. So all of these verbs suggest precision, and you have got the adverb exactly backing up that idea of precision. But it's not just about being precise, it's also about being in control, that every act is deliberate. It's like he's crafting his work, somewhat similar to the way that Heaney, Seamus is in, would craft a poem, because we know that Heaney is so very exact in his choices as well. Okay, now we've got a little bit of juxtaposition. Okay, so terminal caesura here, marking a little shift, lovely shift in tone. We know that examiners love that. Love that phrase, shift in tone. I stumbled. So we've got juxtaposition. Yeah, so this clumsy, unsteady, the opposite to his father's precision. I stumbled in his hobnailed wake. That's just in relation to the shoes that he's wearing. But again, we've got the notion of following. He is following his father, literally. Fell sometimes on the polished sod. Polished because, again, being reminded of his father's skill. reminded of his father's skill. Fell sometimes on the polished sod. So this is like, excuse my informality, but this is him being annoying. Yeah, he's a pain. Sometimes he fell over, probably had a bit of a cry, but also sometimes, so we've got a repetition of this adverb. He rode me on his back. Again, you've got that thing about his strength and power, but he's tolerant and he's fun. He's riding him on his back. Because of this adverb, sometimes there's a suggestion that he's lucky when it happens. You got that excitement. Sometimes he rode me on his back, dipping and rising to his plod. Okay, do you remember what we were talking about up here about the? Oh, I can't remember. Can't find it now. Oh, up here with the waves. So again, we've got that extension of the sea metaphor, dipping and rising to his plod. So his plod is this walking. Now we've got that little bit of childhood innocence and enthusiasm. I wanted to grow up and plough. So kind of like childhood, like longing and admiration, you know, I want to be what my dad is. I wanted to grow up and plough, to close one eye, stiffen my arm. So it's literally like mimicking the actions of his father. All I ever did was follow in his broad shadow. Again, you've got the globed shoulders being referenced. So this is both metaphorical and literal. Yeah, that he's in his shadow. What does in his shadow mean? It means not being able to like live up. So not living up to his father. I was a nuisance. Tripping, falling, yapping always. So note the way that he then sort of qualifies what he means, yeah? And then we have this lovely triad of dynamic verbs that all suggests sort of like clumsiness and irritation. I like this metaphor. Yapping always, like he's a puppy. So, you know, he's well-meaning, he's young, he's well-meaning, he's excitable, but annoying. Now, little caesura here, I'll just write that down for you. Sorry, I realise I say that quite a lot and then I don't actually write it down for the spelling and it's a tricky one to spell. But today, so now this adverb roots us in the present. We're in the now. It is my father. Look at that. Present tense. We've been past tense all the way through. It is my father who keeps stumbling. So again, we've got that contrast or that juxtaposition. Stumbling behind me. So, sorry, his father has become the follower. So we've got this role reversal and will not go away. So I'm missing a full stop there. There is a full stop there. That's not a weird kind of lack of caesura or anything like that. Yeah, and will not go away. So this is about the kind of like, this is really sad. This is about the burden of old age. Some of you might be thinking at this moment, gosh, that's a bit brutal, you know, wishing his father would go away. But I don't think we're meant to read it that way. I think we're meant to read it, yes, as blunt. Certainly a blunt tone here, but it's blunt but honest. Do you know what I mean? I think it's meant to be, you know, blunt but honest, because actually there is always that time in a person's life when they suddenly realise that they are an adult and their father and mother, who were once the ones that were in charge and in control, now need, you know, you to be the adult, you to be the person in charge, you to be the person looking after them. And it's sad and it's stressful all at the same time. So there's this kind of like, it feels a little bit resentful, but I think it's actually just this sort of like honest reflection of how things change. Now, unlike many of the poems that we've looked at, this one actually has a rhyme scheme. So for form, we actually have, oh, can you see that? Yeah, sorry. We have an A-B rhyme scheme. Sometimes we have half rhyme. Yeah, it's not always perfect rhyme, but it is at least half rhyme. And I was thinking about it, because normally there's so much sort of metrical irregularity and rhyme irregularity in Heaney's poems, normally because it's about kind of disjointed or understanding disjointed ways of thinking. But I think this is quite simply mimicking the precision and craft of his father's farm work. That's what I think is going on there. Can you see that? Yeah, so I'm right at the bottom of the video. So I think that's quite clever. Obviously the enjambment breaks that rhyme scheme, so you don't necessarily read it to the rhyme. That would be really weird. You follow the enjambment. But that kind of makes a sense as well. Right. Hey, look at that. 16 minutes. Not too bad. As always, give me a shout if you need anything. Cheers. Bye-bye.